Howdy, y'all. How y'all doing today? And this is Brian right here. And today I welcome my fellow cowboy friend, Mark Williams. How you doing, brother?
Good. How are you?
Not too bad. Sorry about the bad cowboy accent. Trying to get in the mood right here too. But
Yeah.
got the cowboy hat and everything too, so he's practically ready to roll right here. So how you been recently? What's new?
uh, I've been pretty good. So recently, I started this solo project. That's kind of the newest big thing right now in my life, musically speaking, anyway. So
That's pretty cool. You
it's
get to elaborate on that in just a second here too. But I guess which part of the world are you hailing from?
I'm in Austin, Texas.
Austin. Good to hear that, cowboy. So all right. So, Mark, the way it's going to work is I want to welcome you to my podcast first off, but the way it's going to work is I'm going to ask you guys some questions. Let's get to know you more both as a musician, but also as the cowboy in general, too. So, you all ready?
Ready
Okay.
to go.
All right. So, start with the first one right here. So, I guess tell us a bit about yourself. Who are you, and how did you become a musician?
I started probably playing guitar when I was around 15. It's something I would guess the grunge era of music when I was a early teen was a big influence on me wanting to move forward with music and stuff like that. And excuse me, fly. um, yeah, I wanted to move forward as a musician, so I started playing mainly French guitars and stuff like that. And yeah, I just kept going with it for the last 30 years.
That's good to hear. So, I guess did you take up any instruments in school? Did you play any strings or were you in the band?
No, to be honest, my mom wouldn't let me. Did not want to hear the practicing. So I didn't really get to a point where I could practice my craft until after I'd moved out of my parents' house. So that was probably around the time I was 18 and 19 years old.
You do expect me like you would be a football star. Did you do football at all? Or what kind of sports did you play in school?
I played I played football in the eighth grade. Uh, I was terrible. I played center. Um, I got to play, I think, in two games. And one of those games, I cost us a 15-yard penalty, and I never played again.
It was
I
like
got to
one
put
time.
my mouthpiece in.
Oh man, yeah. Actually, was that what they flagged you on, or did you do a little roughing, that sort of thing?
No, no, nothing like that. I was actually, ultimately, I'm a pretty timid guy. So football for me was just, it's not something I was into. I was more suited for a guitar.
All right, fair enough too. So I guess let's go ahead and jump into music a little bit here too. So I guess we'll jump into the bands a little bit later, but I guess let's first start with Mark Williams, this solo project you got going on here too. So tell us about it. What's the history behind it?
Well, about, let me think. It was, I've always kind of been into country music on the side. Um, it it isn't something that I would say that I have. I truly at heart I'm a metalhead, but there's that country music, the outlaw country of the '70s and '80s, stuff like that. I was always into, and then other guy. When I was in the army, a lot of country music fans in the army, so a lot of the songs that those guys would listen to became nostalgic to me. So later on, what really was the turning point was when I discovered a band called the Handsome Family, and they did the opening song for True Detective on the first season. And I heard it and I was like, oh, wow, this is really cool. So I listened to more of their stuff and I decided at that point, like, I want to do a project like this one day. Um, but that's been, oh man, it has to have been almost 10 years since that season came out and I'm finally doing it. I've got other influences along the way, Les Johnson and me, my good friends here in Austin, um, who play country music live and stuff. It's all like come together.
That's very cool. And thank you so much for your service. First off, I guess what'd you do in the Army?
Thank you. I was a cook.
No, you're more the cook.
So yeah, so just like football, I try to stay in the background as much as possible. Not really go out and get them kind of guy.
I guess they still put you through boot camp and everything too.
Oh yeah, yeah. Everything's the same except what you do in your daily life.
I see. I guess I want to come back to that just a little bit here too, but I guess first of all, I can kind of see like some of the Vinnie Paul sort of references with Pantera at times, and then it kind of mixed in with like a Clint Eastwood sort of movie as well. So, and I guess what are people influenced you in general too? Because do you do guitar or do you do vocals and guitar?
I do vocals and guitar. You know, I would say my biggest influences, as far as like how I play and like what I'm actually wanting to get out there, probably Leonard Cohen is the number one. But not exactly country music, I don't guess. Maybe it's more folk than country. Simon and Garfunkel are huge. I like them a lot. Gordon Lightfoot. Tried to, for the first time last night, I tried to listen to James Taylor, and I just couldn't get into that. So, each their own, though.
I guess so. And just trying to remember another question here too. Actually, was it one of your parents that introduced you to metal music in general? Because I know you said you started off as a metalhead.
No, my dad was a huge country fan. My mom was only listened to like music from her childhood, so like mainly 60s rock and stuff like that, Beach Boys, the Beatles. I didn't get into metal. I actually started off after grunge. Grunge kind of progressed into punk rock, and then I met one of my best friends, Rob, probably around '97, and at that point he introduced me to more metal. And I'd been into Guns N' Roses like in the fourth grade and Iron Maiden and stuff like that, but he introduced me to the more extreme metal. Started listening to a lot more black metal and stuff like that. So that's really when it started. As a small child, I was mostly listening to a lot of Billy Idol and Leonard Cohen.
Heard White Wedding one too many times on the radio from Billy Idol.
Oh. Yeah, still a classic though. I haven't gotten tired of that song.
It's still going, yeah. Yeah, I agree too. That's pretty cool. So I guess how many bands up until this point have you been a part of?
So 5, I believe. I started first project was Valve Amon. And that was a band that me and my friend Rob and the singer for Iciga-Vin and Curtis was also in. And we started that in the late 90s, I would guess around 98, 99. And that lasted a couple years. After that, I joined the Army and was kind of doing nothing for about 10 years. At that point, I developed a band or a one-man project called Frost Crown, which ended up actually getting on stage. There's a YouTube video out there somewhere. Played in a band called Fallen Empire out of Arkansas. Played keyboards for them for about a year. Then I was in another band called Night Sphere, which was a more power metal band. And after that, I pretty much laid low for about another 6 years, and started Iciga-Vin as a one-man band, and Chris and Curtis joined. Now we're a 3-piece, and yeah, and then I have the Mark Williams project that's up and running now.
You still got the same bandmates for your Mark Williams project, or do you get some new bandmates to kind of help you out with the music?
So I do everything, but if I need bass guitar, I've asked Chris to come in. So he's on 2 songs currently, 2 out of 4 songs, where he just plays bass on it. So
I saw the one
I'm
song on Spotify. Was it just Horses you release so far?
yes, that's the only one that's been released so far. I have another one. I'm trying to do one a month for the next 4 months or 3 months now, not to oversaturate anybody, and also give it some each release some breathing room.
That's fair enough. Yeah. You know, a lot of people, especially in the indie community, they always seem to like do one release, usually per month. Like you said, it's kind of give it a little bit of a breathing room, and then also see how many streams you can accumulate over time there too. So I can see what you mean.
Mm.
So, so I guess let's go and jump to music promotion. I guess what new songs you got coming out in May here, or what's the next release?
So the next release will be May 11th. The song is called Sonoran Skies, and it is an instrumental, which will be one of 2 instrumentals that I have written. The other one I don't have a release date for yet. So that'll be my second song, which I think's in a way kind of a bold move, to not have vocals on a song for your second release. But I have another song in June called Sculpted by the Scripture, about my growing up in the Church of Christ, the downfalls with that, and then On My Way Home, which is a more of a love song about a traveling man, you know. And that one will be out in July.
They do it for around July 4th. They're right on the Independence Day.
No, it's it'll actually be the 13th. Yeah.
Oh, so
Yeah, I didn't want to coincide. I didn't want to coincide with any holidays or any other releases. So,
I mean, hey, you can have additional fireworks too, right there. So I mean, it counts for something. So
that's true. Yeah, I could have maybe do some good background shots of fireworks for a music video or something. It might actually be really pretty.
yeah, I'll leave it up to you. But good luck there, Nate. All right. So you joined the army in around what, the early 2000s, and I guess what made you want to join?
Uh, it was uh, I guess the hype. 9/11 happened, and my father-in-law at the time convinced me that the draft was going to happen. So I was going at the time. I wanted to go to culinary school anyway. So I thought, well, I don't want to get drafted and be an infantryman, running and gunning and all that stuff. It's just not in my blood. And so I decided, well, the Army provide me the training, and the recruiter had told me, yeah, we send you to culinary school. We do all this. All lies. But yeah, so I basically after 9/11, didn't want to get drafted into something I didn't want to do. So I signed up and ended up staying for 7 years as an active duty soldier, and then re-enlisted and did another 6 years as a reservist.
You just stay within the states, or did you go overseas for any sort of tour or anything?
Yeah, I went to Germany. I stayed there for 4 years, and went to Iraq a couple of times.
Ooh, that sounds pretty tense. Were you close to Baghdad at all?
My second, well, yeah, my first tour was 2003. So we convoyed all the way from Kuwait up into Kirkuk, which is in the northern part of Iraq. So we went through Baghdad, got to see the what was left of it anyway at the time. And then my second tour, I ended up doing about 3 months in Baghdad. So, Surprisingly, there was a 3-year gap, I think, in my deployments. The second time, Baghdad was a little more regulated. Things were, I don't want to say they were better, but it wasn't the chaos it was the first time I went.
I see. And as we approach Memorial Day, I know it's a little less than a month away right now, but thank you and thank everyone who has served in the military. So, regardless of the role that they played.
Thank you.
So, no worries. All right. Actually, I thought I would lead into COVID a little bit here too, but we'll go ahead and jump into that. So, I guess, when did you form the Mark Williams Band? Was this last year, or when did you do it?
Well, I had started work, I would say around last summer. I'd reached out to Kenny from Les Johnson and me, and I said, "Hey, I want to cover one of your songs." And we ended up becoming friends from that, and we chat quite often. So basically, that was the initial plan, was to somehow cover this country song as an Isiga song. But I'd sent him some Isiga stuff, and I don't want to say he didn't like it, but I could tell it wasn't, his cup of tea. So I was like, well, I don't want to do anything to offend or to butcher the song or, anything like that. So I decided, well, I'm going to do an acoustic project, and I'll do the song through that. And what really lit a fire under my ass was we signed a record deal with Soda Records and Metal Incorporated, which pushed our new EP out, pushed it back a few months. We were supposed to release the EP in February, but they wanted to release, they had a singles campaign that they wanted to follow, and so it's like one single every 2 months. So ultimately, that EP won't be released until early 2025. So this gives me an opportunity to still make music, still release it out there, and not, be confined by any rules or demands of the label.
I mean, those stinking rules.
Yeah, not that I'm trying to sneak around anything, but I mean, this is obviously a completely different style of music than Isiga, and so, this is something ultimately I would like to get on stage with. Isiga, and that would be a little bit tougher to find local musicians to do something like that, even in Austin. But it's just me and an acoustic guitar, that's pretty easy to book a little coffee shop show here or there,
Yeah. I was going to say, do you end up in a Starbucks at some point?
I wish, but the ones around here do not allow people to play.
Worth a shot. All right. But it was leading to COVID right here. So I guess, how bad did COVID impact you and your family and music-wise?
Music-wise, COVID, we benefited from it. To be honest, it was an opportunity to not have to work the same way. Your 40-hour week. I was actually spent most of the pandemic being a DoorDash driver, so I had plenty of time on my hands, and that's when I started Isiga and really kicked off. So as far as my family and stuff goes, I mean, we didn't. Well, we lost a couple people, some distant relatives here and there. It was an interesting time. But ultimately, and I've told other people this in the indie community, a lot of us who are still doing what we're doing, the way we're doing it, you can tell that the pandemic affected us. It affected the way you get out, you want to get out there, you want to do things. And dare I say, things are a little scarier than they were before the pandemic. You know, it's hard. I think a lot of people still are concerned about COVID. You know, crowded places still kind of freak them out and stuff like that. So even some bigger names that I've seen recently here in Austin, those just don't have the people they would have had 4 years ago, 5 years ago. You know.
Yeah, I actually do remember interviewing a friend who also lives out of Austin as well too. He says some places did close down, and then it's like you at least still get a decent crowd, but it's not like what it used to be too. And you'd say that's been an experience in the music scene with you, in and around Austin?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it would be packed houses, you know, and like one of the places here, Come and Take It, they have a smoking area that used to just be packed full of people in between sets, and you can just tell it's like dwindling away. You know, some bands can, you know, really bring a huge crowd, um, but it's not as um, packed as it used to be. You know, they're not meeting capacity anymore. It doesn't seem like.
Seemed like COVID took
So
away
it's
that
kind
whole
of
thing. Took that whole thing away, like to interact and do all that stuff.
right. Yeah, I don't know if I don't know the ultimate reason why people don't want to, you know, really go back out. I know COVID not only, you know, killed people and caused all kinds of problems for everybody, but economically, you know, I don't believe that the country or the world even has recovered from that yet. A lot of people around here are broke. You know, the wages aren't meeting cost of living. So, you know, if Cradle of Filth comes through or something like that, you know, it's $35 for a ticket. You know, it's a substantial amount of money when you're not making hardly enough to make rent, you know. So I think a lot of people are still trapped in their houses just due to the lack of funds to go have fun.
Yeah, I can see what you mean there too, but we have to see what happens. I mean, there's only so much we can do, to be honest, too. But did you or anybody in your family, do you have any brushes with COVID? Were you all okay?
Um, I believe I had an aunt. I wasn't too close with my dad's side of the family, but I believe that my aunt and my uncle both passed from COVID. My other aunt on my mom's side of the family, she got COVID when she was 85, 86 years old, and she had broken her neck. When she went to the hospital, they couldn't do surgery because she had COVID. She beat that too. I mean, she eventually passed away, not COVID related. So she had been through a lot, you know, breast cancer, an aneurysm in her head, a heart attack, COVID, broken neck. Yeah, I mean, you talk about she was made of steel. Um, I ended up getting COVID about 2 years ago, and I was one of the lucky people. You know, it just made me feel a little lethargic, and I just got 5 days off of work. You know, I didn't get sick. It's scary because you never know if you're going to wake up feeling like horrible the next day. But you know, every day I woke up, I was blessed to not be in any pain or anything, and so I'm thankful for that for sure.
That's very good to hear. And sorry for anyone you did lose during COVID here too, but it's good to have you around for the ride here, Mark. So keep on doing what you're doing. Okay. So I guess let's jump into this one right here. So I guess talk about the gear that you use specifically for your music wise.
So right now, I have an Epiphone Les Paul that I use for all my electric work, whether it be IC Gavinon or even Mark Williams stuff. Um, I have an Ibanez Classical that I play. Um, Most of the recordings that have already been done have been played on the Classical, and my other Ibanez acoustic that I just love finally got out of the shop yesterday. I had a cracked bridge, or the bridge split where the pegs go in. And they did such a good job repairing it. I mean, it looks brand new again. So that one will be showing up on the next song, fifth song. And then other than that, mainly I use Studio One to do all of my keyboard. I have a keyboard here, but I've gotten so used to the piano roll on the DAW that I can program what I want to play faster than I can play it. So I'm just painting the notes in there, humanizing them, adjusting the velocity, stuff like that, and then so I end up getting what I want.
That's pretty cool. And do you do your own mixing and mastering, or do you kind of ask for help to do that sort of stuff?
So for Mark Williams, it's all me, and then I use AI mastering software just for the final touch. I do all the mixing, remastering myself in Studio One, and then I use the AI thing, which doesn't. I mean, it just honestly kind of makes it just a little louder, a little bit clearer. And then for IC Gavinon, we have used friend Steven from Lacerate Studios. He does all of the mixing and mastering.
That's pretty cool. I guess how'd you guys meet? You guys get friends from school or something?
We met through the Metal Incorporated group. We were looking for somebody to master our first album, and he jumped on it. And, we worked out a deal, and then we were real happy with it. So we continued to use him for the next single, and then the EP he did that too.
That's pretty good. Good to have friends like that too.
Yeah.
So
yeah, he's a good guy.
That's pretty good. So I guess tell us your process, like how you create a song, for instance. Do you normally start with the lyrics and then do the music afterwards, or vice versa? Music then lyrics?
I start with the music. So how it usually works is I come up with a chord progression that I want to use. And whether I'm strumming it out on guitar or I just, on the keyboard, I'll play a fairly simple chord progression, 4 or 5 notes. And then from there, that's when it gets annoying for everybody around me because I will loop that chord progression. It's infinitely sometimes. I mean, I'll sit here for hours upon hours just hearing it over and over and over. And then I start adding to it. I guess the way I write is a more minimalist approach. The lyrics always come last, and I usually do that because I want the meter of the words to match the beat of the music. So I can't. Hard for me to hear it in my head and if I read some lyrics, it's hard for me to come up with a melody in my head. However, it's easy for me to come up with a singing melody if the music's already there, type thing. So I save the lyrics for last, and also that requires a lot of just looping that song over and over and over. And I sit here and take notes, write down line by line, what words fit in with that structure.
I'm the same way with mine because I collaborate with a couple of people in our indie community, and Do you use your phone with that little notepad in it, or do you actually write it down on a piece of paper?
Actually, I usually use my laptop. I'm a much faster typer, so I just kind of like, clicking it out as fast as I can while it's playing.
I should just picture like the old-fashioned typewriter too. Be like, ching,
Yeah.
just move it over. Just keep doing that. So I see what you mean. So I guess in terms of your lyrics, I guess for just the one song that I did notice on Spotify, I guess what's Horses about in terms of your lyrics?
It's generally about girl. You know, I don't want to say anybody specific, but it's about a girl who wants to leave, who wants to, she wants out of the relationship, and that's kind of what it's about. And there's some parts of it. I guess you could say maybe. Maybe the lines are from the perspective of the horse. Maybe it could be read that way. I guess it's really open to interpretation when it comes to that kind of stuff. But ultimately, it's about a girl who was dreaming of bigger, better things. Figured out she didn't need me anymore, and moved on, and me trying to run to catch up, but ultimately failing.
What does it say? Was the horse? Does the horse have a name?
No, random horse.
Oh, I just figured like she could probably be in the desert with a horse or no name, if you know where we're going with that one.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And I know you elaborated on too your instrumentals that you got coming out too. I guess what are songs do your lyrics delve into?
Sculpted by the Scripture will be the third single. That one's about my experiences more or less in the Church of Christ growing up. I'm not a huge fan of the Church of Christ. I believe them to be a borderline cult. It's how could I say it? I'm not anti-religious by any means, uh, but I am against forced conformity, I guess. Like you're in this church, you can't have friends who aren't in this church. Stuff like that. To me, that's just not right. So a lot of it's just about my experiences with the Church of Christ, and it's kind of told from a perspective of me falling in love with a girl who's a member, and more or less attempting to rescue her from this, borderline cult. And it's an interesting history with the Church of Christ. They were the Calvinist church up until like the 1850s, and the Calvinist church broke in half. One half became the Church of Christ, what is now the Church of Christ. The other half became Branch Davidians. So we all know, what kind of strange people those guys were. So, it just goes to show that if you get too extreme in things, it can cause problems. And then song after that, "On My Way Home," is just a basic love song. I envision the guy being a trucker of some sort or something like that, and he's just on the open road, like, the girl, she's there waiting, coming home, pretty classic folk country story, in my opinion.
I'd say mostly country does delve with like a woman, yeah.
Yeah, it's almost like 18 Wheels and a Dozen Roses, if you know that song. It's kind of got that feel to it, in my opinion.
Was it who sang that song? No, I don't think it rings a bell.
Kathy Mattea, I believe. It was an 80s country song. But yeah, it was about a trucker who was on his last run coming home, and he brought flowers, it and everything's all happy. So it's a happier song than the other two. I tried to keep it. Not everything as depressing as I see Gavin usually is.
That is that too. And I think a lot of the country, or at least the stereotypes, I think people would say country is it mostly deals with guys, trucks, beer, and maybe some sort of depression, something like that too. So
And girls wearing your t-shirt. That seems to be a trope right now. A lot of songs are like, she's wearing my t-shirt. You know, it's like, okay.
yeah, I can see why there too. All right, that's pretty cool. And I guess first of all, do you work multiple jobs in addition to this project that you're doing?
No, I just have one job. I work at a grocery store, a local grocery store here. Yeah, in the cheesemonger. Cut and package fancy cheeses. So that's all I do.
I was going to say that
I
and
play
see you behind the meat
music.
counter.
Yeah, I I work next to those guys, and I don't want their job.
They each his own, like you said. But was there something else you
Yeah,
wanted to say about your job?
no, it's been pretty good. I mean, it's I work with a lot of musicians. Some of them are touring musicians, some of them are local touring, some of them are like me and just mess around in the bedroom or whatever. So it's a really good environment for musicians to work there. You have a lot of like-minded people.
People that do thinking around like the same terminology that you do too. So that's pretty cool. So related to this question right here, I guess. So what challenges do you face being a musician? You more time constraints or trying to do the whole marketing deal?
Um, my biggest challenges are marketing, trying to get trying to get your name out there, especially with Alcigavan and us not playing live is or not even being able to play live as a band. That's been extremely difficult. Um, on the Mark Williams side of things, I think getting a gig in Austin is more or less like if you just show up somewhere, somebody's going to let you play. Um, but then comes in the whole like nerves. I haven't been on stage in almost 10 years, or maybe 10 years or more, somewhere around there. And it's just, I got to get up there, just me and an acoustic guitar. And I'm really considering something new last night that I was thinking of. Was trying to find someone local, another acoustic guitar player, and just kind of Simon and Garfunkel it, just get another guy or a girl who wants to be a part of it, and we just get up there, and if it's sounds like Peter, Paul, and Mary or Mamas and Papas or something like that, that's cool. But I think it would be interesting, and also it'd give that feeling that you're not alone up there. Because being in the spotlight just by myself seems it's a little nerve wracking to think about. But maybe I just need a few beers and get up there and not think about it.
I'd say, hey, it does loosen the nerves up. So I can see what you mean with that one. I'd say if you're thinking of a Simon and Garfunkel one, can you try to make sure it's somebody you're not going to want to fight over with every single time?
Right? Yeah.
Let's try to avoid that. We don't need any more drama in the life. So I can see why. So yeah, we breezed through here. I know you mentioned about the indie community earlier. Are you part of the Band Together group on Facebook?
Yeah, I've been a part of that. I don't want to say since its inception. To be honest, I don't really know. Um, I don't know how long they were around when we joined, but we became a part of it. Me, Chris, not so much Curtis. He doesn't really get on social media much, but yeah, we've been messing around with them for over a year now. So it's been pretty good. We met a lot of cool people all through that page.
Yeah, that's for sure. What they got going on right there is pretty awesome too. And I guess for the audience's sake, what social media are you on? And I guess, is there something you hope to achieve with what you're doing on social media?
You know, to start off, I guess I am on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and YouTube. So the big four, I call them. And then, other than that, like anybody else, just try to make content that people want to watch to get some views. So like on all of them, I post shorts or reels of just I'll do like a verse and a chorus of a cover song, trying to get some views and hoping that people are like, well, that wasn't so bad. Let's check out the original stuff. So far, it's been pretty good on the cover songs. The original stuff always suffers when compared to a really famous song, though. So I have to keep that in mind. That it's not that people might hate my music. It's that they don't know who I am. And if I do a Toby Keith song, they're only listening to it because they know who Toby Keith is, not because they know who I am.
Yeah, that's kind of the downside to it too. And it was a surprise too when I figured out Toby Keith had died recently, and that was kind of a bit of a shock too. So may you rest in peace, first off. And
yeah,
it's really shocking too when you find out some of these people have passed away. And unfortunately, I'm a little skeptical at first because you sometimes get those posts that say like, "Oh, this person passed," and it's like, no, they did not pass away yet. So it's kind of down at first. So you want to make sure, like, is that legitimately true at first? So tragic to say the least. So, and for the second part of the question right here, I guess for all the musicians on the social media pages that maybe you've interacted with, or maybe not yet, I guess what would be your advice to them?
Well, my advice is to, one, don't take it too seriously. I mean, you want to take yourself serious, but at the same time, don't put all of your emotional foundation on whether you're getting followers or whether you're getting views or anything like that. Because just for an example, I have a friend who plays here all the time. When he plays a show, he gets a really good sized crowd every time. But his social media lacking. It doesn't reflect what I see in person. So I think a lot of times people get caught up in the follow for follows or the stream for streams or all of that. I personally don't think that works. Serve much more of a purpose than just stroking your own ego. Because if I have, and I don't want, I'm not saying anything bad. I don't know who these people are, most of them, but if I have 1,700 followers, I have to wonder how many of those people are actually listening to my music, and the actual percentage is probably in a single digit. And that's okay. Because if it actually does help whatever algorithms are out there to have higher numbers like that, or it makes you look better, I don't mind following somebody back. I think the downfall is when people start getting a little butthurt. People don't like their music, and they're like, well, why aren't you listening to my music? Well, I sucks to say, but if I'm not a fan of it, I'm not going to listen to it for the sake of giving you streams. It's just the way it is. And I don't expect anybody to do that for me either. I don't want to be on a bot playlist, get 1,000 streams overnight, and then nobody's really listening to it. I would rather get real numbers, 50 streams, something like that seems more realistic to me. And I think a lot of the up and coming guys who are just starting out and finding band together and all this stuff need to realize that the high streaming numbers are from people who are either they're using bots or doing stream for stream or something like that, or they have been around long enough to generate that kind of popularity that would result in that many plays. It's not something that happens overnight for sure, and I think that's something that people should realize.
Yeah, that's for sure too. And actually, do you get a lot of those things on Instagram or maybe Facebook too that say like, "Hey, we'll give you all those bots too that will help boost your streams and everything too"? You get a whole lot of those.
About 2 or 3 a week, so more than I would like to get, but they always know how to promote better than I do, And, ultimately, I don't see if it's not bots, I don't see what paying somebody is going to do for you. It's most of the people, who charge for promotion are literally just going to email labels, magazines, stuff like that. And all you have to do is go to said magazine or label's website and get their email address and email them yourself. So it doesn't look any better for a promotion company to email somebody. It looks like you paid somebody to not do the work for you because you didn't want to do the work. Not that that's a bad thing, but just I don't know. People should beware of things that are too good to be true. Hey, we're going to get you in these magazines. We're going to get you here. We're going to get you there. And it's only $150 a month. And it's like, dude, $150 a month. Like that's my insurance payment. Like, and this is a risk, not something worth putting my money into, and not when I can email these same people myself.
Yeah, that's for sure too. So buyers beware, as we probably like to say there too. So, all right. So this question wasn't on the list I had sent over to you, but I guess so first off, is your cover for the song Horses, is that AI art or is that this picture that you put together?
That is a photo I took from the National Parks website. Yeah. And I just added the font over it. I used the second one is also a photo, an archived photo. And I doctor them up a little bit, I guess, but they're ultimately just kind of like what they are. The third one is what is that a picture of? Oh, it's actually a picture of the church I grew up in. So I'm kind of like hoping I don't get any, I don't know, cease and desist from the church, even though that would be the controversy. But yeah, I did use AI art on the latest single that I did. But ultimately, it was just a photo of a house. So I didn't want to. I can't. Like I said, I work in a grocery store. Unfortunately, I can't pay anybody to paint me a picture of a house. So
I was going to say, what's your opinion of AI? Because it seems to start creeping into the music scene here, and it seems like some of the more bigger bands are starting to use it.
I think it's kind of. I think it's ultimately, well, like I was saying, working in a grocery store, I don't have a whole lot of money. I've seen people say statements like, you don't want to pay an artist to do the artwork, and you don't care about your music, which I absolutely disagree with. Because you have a better job than me doesn't mean that you care more about your music than I do. If you're making $200,000 a year, then pay the freaking artist. That makes sense. But if you're making, under $20 an hour, what am I supposed to save up for 2 years for my album to come out? That doesn't even make sense. Not when I have free to use AI that is acceptable looking. It's not I think some AI looks absolutely horrid. Some people don't know how to use the prompts right. It comes off looking weird. People have like 8 fingers and stuff like that. But ultimately, like especially for Isegaven, and it's like landscape art. So I don't know. Why would I pay somebody $500 to do that when it was literally free in front of me? And I do feel really bad for those artists. Their AI has taken a lot of people's jobs, or their side hustles at least. But with that being said, a lot of people who are doing, art as a side hustle are using AI and selling it. I've seen that before. See it quite often. And tell it's AI, and I'm like, dude, you didn't paint that. Like there's no way. If it's commissioned, they have it back to you the next day. And it looks like a freaking Michelangelo painting. Like, dude, no way. There's no way you did it in a day. So it opened up the door for people to like, who are good at prompting the AI to sell basically their prompts. Which I mean, if you know what you're getting into, I don't have anything to say about that. But if you're an artist using AI and selling your quote original art to people, that I think is kind of wrong. You could let people know, it's okay if it's like digitally altered, digitally created, pre-photographed things, but when it comes to just straight up on Bing getting your art, I just don't agree with that, selling that to people. But I think it's a good thing for a local band, or small band, or an internet band, if you want to call it that. We're not making any money off of our music anyway. So where's the money to pay for the art? Nobody's making any money anymore. Well, that's the sad state of the music world. Even some big bands that I know of are doing GoFundMe's for vet bills. It's weird.
Yeah, I can see what you mean too. It's definitely one of those double-edged swords that's come about right now, especially with like social media and the internet too, whenever you think about it. So I can see what you mean, but it's going to be interesting to see. So, I mean, I've heard a little bit more of, let's say a little bit more of hate recently, but I think I could see what you were saying earlier, some of the love they kind of would get for it, especially for someone who's a small indie artist, for instance. So,
right.
I'll just see what happens. So, here's hoping. So, Mark, we briefed through the questions here pretty good. So, I guess here, let's jump into the phone ones. Ready?
All right.
All right. So, start with the first one right here. So, first off, what would you say is your favorite food?
Pizza. Yeah, and it shouldn't be. At my age, it should not be pizza, but it is. I could eat pizza at least every day. And it shows. If I stand up and show you my midsection, you'll be like, that guy eats pizza.
Yeah, that's a nice big juicy steak you're eating right there, buddy.
So, yeah.
Let's see what. Is it a particular pizza, or do you pretty much just dig whichever one they throw at you?
I try different kinds almost every time I get one. I don't have a favorite topping or anything. My go-to would just be a pepperoni, if I had to just pick a pizza. But I love the big New York style pizzas. You get downtown, the big massive slices are just amazing.
Are those the ones that are like real flimsy though? Like once you peel them off, they can just like fall like this.
Yeah, yeah. You got to fold them and manipulate them a certain way.
I would say sometimes I actually roll mine up, kind of make like a big cigar, for instance. At times, I just kind of goof around
Oh,
with those.
nice.
So
Okay, I'll have to try that sometime.
it's something like that. Okay. And for the next question right here, I guess, what would you say is your favorite movie?
Star Wars. Yeah, all of them. Um, just the universe in general. I guess if I had to pick one out of all of them, it'd be Return of the Jedi.
That's a good choice there, too. Because what was your opinion of Empire Strikes Back? Because I think most people would say New Hope and Return of the Jedi were like the biggest ones, but no one really seems to give like much love for Empire Strikes Back.
Um, I think Empire is my second favorite. Um, I liked it because it ends on a down note. Everybody's they're in an inescapable situation. It seems like there's no, well, before A New Hope was called A New Hope. With The Empire Strikes Back, there was no hope in that movie. Everything their buddies betrayed them, handed them over to Darth Vader. Everything was just, I don't know. It's dark. It's weird that it's a kids movie, or it was intended to be a kids movie because it's pretty dark.
I don't know, a kids movie. You did see Luke lose his right hand during the fight there too. So,
Right. Yeah,
and
back then.
the old-fashioned classic line, "I am your father." So yeah.
Yeah.
So, let's see why. It did kind of end on a partial happy note, even though they were outside the galaxy a good distance away. And it didn't have to be like, okay, we're going to regroup. We're going to go back and we're going to kick their ass. So
Yeah, for real.
at least it did in the end, even though it took some time, but it all worked out in the end. So I guess, what was your opinion of the sequels? It seemed like that kind of ruined it in a way. I'm not too sure. What's your opinion?
I actually liked all three of them. Um, I think as adults, we expected to feel the magic that we felt when we first saw the movies as children. Um, but I think psychologically we're adults and we just don't get that excitement anymore because our imaginations aren't as such. So I think that basically, I'm not saying if you didn't like it, you're a crybaby. There were a lot of crybabies who didn't like it. And they were like, well, you did, and it's like, well, yeah, you could have done a lot of things, but the fact of the matter is you never had control anyway. So just let them make the movie. If you don't like it, don't watch it. You don't have to go cry about it. Just me personally, it's laser swords and space battles. What's there not to like about it? The story on all of them are so basic, hero's journey that not it's not No Country for Old Men we're talking about. It's movies made for a younger crowd. So I try to watch them through the eyes of a younger person, just, be in awe of the special effects and, the space battles and the lightsaber battles and stuff like that. I think it's fun. It's not, to me, it's not meant to be a way of life.
Yeah, I can understand why. But I will say in The Last Jedi, it was actually really cool which I remember, the woman jumps out of one ship into hyperspace and it crashes through that Imperial fleet and like makes like a big explosion in this sort of way. Yeah, that whole thing.
He suicide bombed the first quarter fleet or whatever. Yeah, that was a surprise. I didn't think they'd put that in a Star Wars movie, but that was an intense moment.
It was actually. I was gonna say explosion, and that's kind of what it was, really. But it just like ripped right through. So yeah, it was like a suicide run. We wanted to call it that.
Yeah,
suicide space run. There we go. Because I went to light space. We should say that. All right. Well, good choices. So I know you mentioned about beer earlier too. So I guess what would you say is your favorite alcoholic drink and non-alcoholic drink?
my favorite alcoholic drink is beer. All kinds of beers. I don't have a favorite really. I'll alternate. My favorite non-alcoholic drink is energy drink. I drink a lot of caffeine. So Bang is my go-to for those. And today I'm drinking, see if it'll show up. not beer, not beer. I didn't want to give any advertising to anybody, so I made my own koozie.
Well, I mean, I got a couple people who will show like the brand of drinks that they are drinking too. I think I have a couple who showed Monster drinks. So is that actually
Well,
the labeling they use on that?
now this is Coors. I just made a koozie. You know, it's I don't know. Sometimes if you drink on videos, they not shadow ban them, but they bury them. They don't want kids watching, so I always find it. I have found that it's better, especially with TikTok, not show alcoholic beverages as a primary feature. Tried to go
I'll tell you.
live went live the other night, and they canceled me. They just said, "Hey, nobody's going to be able to watch this, just so you know, basically, because you're drinking." And I was like, well, "That's the whole shtick. I'm drinking, and I'm doing karaoke." But yeah, TikTok didn't like it.
I'll say that's at least for YouTube, and I think Spotify also it gives you options where like says you have explicit content or if it's meant to be for kids or if it's not meant to be for kids. So they at least give you those options. So
Yeah.
plus I don't know how much longer you're gonna have TikTok too, especially since they banned TikTok and it seems like the US is trying to buy it from China. So it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. I guess did somebody have your account yet?
Yeah, I guess the way I look at it, like we have 9 months. We'll see what happens. I mean, I don't think it's going to affect me much either way. So,
All right, we'll see what happens. But for the last of fun questions here, what would you say is currently your favorite song or a song you've been listening to a good bit recently?
oh, one more time by Les Johnson and me. I listen to that song almost every day.
Is this a new artist that came out, or is this one who's been around a good while?
He's been around for a few years now. So, Les Johnson and me has, I think that they released their first album around 2016, maybe. I'd have to look again, but I found it really interesting. I found the guy because he was doing covers of the Handsome Family on YouTube. I was actually just looking up Handsome Family videos. I found Les Johnson and me, and the guy's voice I just fell in love with. He's got a deep, like gravelly, baritone country voice. He's from Scotland, actually, and I checked him out a little bit more, and turns out, you know, he didn't even write his first song until he was around my age, so he was like 45, 46. Um, and, you know, that's been a few years for him, exactly how old he is now. But yeah, I mean, patience and perseverance, you can do it at any age. And I was inspired by that. It's like always, I got told by a promoter one time, and I should say scammer, but she said, "You're too old to be doing this." Now I was only like 35, and I was like, "What do you mean I'm too old to be doing this? All my favorite bands, blah blah blah." He goes, "Yeah, but they had been doing it since they were 18. You're too old." Uh, it hurt for a long time. I always just think like, "Man, I'm too old to be doing this. I'm too old to be doing this." Um, but then I saw him, and I was like, "You know what? Screw him, because he's doing it, and his stuff is amazing." And is he going to do a world tour opening for George Strait? Probably not. But he's playing shows. He's releasing albums. He's just doing what he wants to do. And I don't know. That's kind of where I'm at. Just right during the pandemic, I was like, kind of just do it. Quit talking about it. Quit wishing I could do it, and just do it.
Well, it boils down to in the end. So yeah, I see what you mean there too. And a big middle finger to that scammer who was telling you not to do that. Get up and do it. So I don't know if there was anything else you wanted to add right there. Otherwise, good choice. So.
No, I guess just going back to like the advice for indie musicians, like you said earlier, that's kind of another piece of advice. Don't let anybody tell you you can't. The only person who can tell you can't is you. Now, if you play guitar and don't have a guitar, then you can't play guitar. But if you have the means to get a guitar, you can play it and you can sing. You don't have, the only thing stopping you from putting your stuff out there is you. It doesn't have to be professionally recorded. It doesn't have to be through a DAW. You can literally use your phone. Most of my videos on TikTok are just my phone. I just set it up in front of me, noodle around a little bit, upload it, pick the best, doesn't take much effort anymore. So get out there, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. There too. All right. And actually, I might have harped on it a little bit here too, but that was down to the final question. But before I jump into it, did you have any questions for me or any final words you want to say before we jump into it?
No questions. Just that I really appreciate you having me on here. I watched, ever since you reached out, I've actually watched a few of your interviews. So you've got some pretty big, names from the indie community. A lot of people I've heard of who either band together or other groups, here and there. Everybody's been really supportive of the solo project, and I really appreciate that. So not only to you, but everybody else, thank you very much.
No worries to me. But for the last question right here, and I've harped on it a little bit here too, but here's how it goes. Given what COVID has done, obviously you've been pretty blessed in a way. I know you lost some family along the way, but for those musicians and people out there who are perhaps struggling, whether COVID related or not, what sort of message of hope would you give to musicians and people out there as we try to move forward in the post-COVID world?
Just keep going. Try not to focus on what may have held you back in the recent years. Like I was saying earlier, or just a minute ago, it's really easy to get your stuff out there now, whether it be TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. You have a phone, you have a recording device. So just do it. And when you do stuff like that, feel good about doing it, because you're putting your heart out to the world for them to see, whether, if they like it or not. And maybe, they don't like it, but don't give up if someone doesn't like it. Billy Corgan said in an interview the other day that, and this is basically, you play Major League Baseball, and every time you go to bat, you hit 3 out of 10 times. You're going to be a Hall of Famer. That's all it takes to be a Hall of Famer in Major League Baseball. For every 10 times you go up to bat, you hit the ball 3 times. If you're releasing music, look at it the same way. For every 10 songs you release, if 3 of them are a hit, you could be a Hall of Famer. If 1 of them's a hit, still a respectable player. If 2 of them are a hit, you're a respectable player. 4 of them hit, you're gonna get Grammy. But you know what I'm saying? It's a good metaphor he used, or an analogy that he used, that it stuck with me. It's like you're not gonna write a hit every song. It's just not going to happen for anybody, whether you're the Who, the Rolling Stones, the Beatles. You can't write a hit every time. So just don't give up. It's still good to somebody, you know.
Yeah, I can see why. But I think for some of those older bands, they were always under a lot of pressure to have as many songs as they could per their contract. So that's why it's probably not the greatest song that they made. 'Cause I think that's what happened with Van Halen. I think that Diver Down album, they did some covers on there too, but I think they were rushed to do something because they were like going, what was it, 78 all the way up to 82, like 5 years just like releasing an album too. So they were always under pressure. So I can see why. And spoke like a true prodigy. So that's all cool. All right, Mark, we've reached the end of my podcast right here. And boy, oh boy, did we talk for a good bit right here. Before we close, you got any final words? Any shout outs you want to give?
Yeah. I'd like to shout out to everybody who's helped me along the way. Box and Sticks over at Band Together has helped tremendous amount getting us noticed. Everyone who's ever interviewed me on a podcast, yourself, Bod's Mayhem Hour, Metal for the Masses, Lacerate Studios for producing on Siegevin and stuff. And also, I definitely want to thank Chris for helping me, for coming over from my Siegevin to help me do some bass for my solo stuff. So, yeah. Not to mention all the other people. If I forget the name of Morningstar, Richard from Morningstar, we're in Dead to Seats together. I completely forgot about that in the list of bands I was in. Because we just kind of do it on the side, and then, yeah. But I don't know. If you haven't heard them, like, check them out. So many out there.
Yeah, that's for sure too. All right, we'll see what happens. And just for the audience's sake, can you just list all the social media that you're on so they can check out your music and streaming platforms so they can check out your music?
For sure. You can find me on all the major streaming platforms: Spotify, Apple Music, Amazon, I guess Deezer, whatever that is, Tidal. It should be pretty easy to find. There's a few Mark Williamses out there, so you might just have to search for Horses, Mark Williams. Also, I'm on Facebook. It's facebook.com/Mark Williams Acoustic. My Instagram is Mark_Williams_acoustic. My TikTok is Mark Williams Acoustic.
All right, sounds good. So everyone, my guest today was Mark Williams, hailing from the deep south of Austin, Texas, right here. Make sure you guys go hit up his music on the socials and everything too. Make sure you look for the right Mark Williams. Look for this handsome devil out there too. So, Mark, I will wish you all the best going forward on your journey there, mate. So you stay safe, rock on, stay tuned, partner.
All right. Thank you.